The sight of Jungkook at JFK Airport in New York today has sparked a wave of speculation across both Korean and international media. After spending just 2 days in New York for Calvin Klein's event, the global icon is now preparing for his flight back to Korea. While such movements from a star of his magnitude are not unusual, the timing has raised more questions than usual. Why would Jungkook, who has consistently drawn the spotlight with his role as the face of Calvin Klein and his rising influence in Western markets, choose to cut his New York stay short? Could this sudden return be tied not just to professional obligations, but also to the ongoing turmoil surrounding his label, Hybe? With Korean police currently investigating matters that involve the company, many are beginning to connect the dots, wondering whether Jungkook is heading home to observe the developments firsthand, or perhaps to be closer to Si-Hyuk, the man who built Hybe and played an instrumental role in shaping Jungkook's career. The situation provides fertile ground for analysis, because it sits at the intersection of multiple powerful narratives. Jungkook's growing stature in global fashion and music, Hybe's precarious corporate standing amidst police scrutiny, and the delicate bond between artists and the executives who helped launch their careers. These threads come together in a moment that feels like more than just a simple airport sighting. Instead, it invites a closer look into what Jungkook's departure from New York really represents, both for him as an individual and for the broader structure of K-pop as it confronts global attention, corporate controversy, and shifting loyalties. For 2 days, Jungkook embodied the merging of Korean music and global luxury fashion. He attended Calvin Klein's exclusive events, mingled with American press, and reminded the industry that his presence alone can elevate a brand. That kind of spotlight is not something labels or artists let go of easily. Yet, instead of staying on to continue his US engagements, Jungkook's decision to leave abruptly conveys that another matter may hold greater weight. When juxtaposed against the news of Hybe facing police investigation in Korea, the timing seems more than coincidental. Could Jungkook be prioritizing his return not only for personal reasons but also because the stability of the company that nurtured his career now appears uncertain? Even if Jungkook himself is not directly tied to the case, his presence in Korea during such a time could send a message of solidarity, vigilance, or even quiet concern for what comes next. The broader context that makes Jungkook's return so compelling is the ongoing investigation into Hybe by Korean police authorities. Hybe, once celebrated as the ultimate symbol of K-pop's expansion into a global industry, is now facing questions that could impact its reputation and leadership. Si-Hyuk, the chairman and founder, is a central figure in both the company's meteoric rise and in the speculation about its current challenges. When a label faces scrutiny, the artists connected to it inevitably feel the ripples. For Jungkook, this is not merely a corporate issue, it strikes at the very foundation of his career. His journey from trainee to global superstar was shaped by Hybe's systems and Si-Hyuk's vision. Watching that very system undergo investigation cannot be easy, even if Jungkook's professional calendar demanded he return to Korea eventually. The suddenness of his departure raises the possibility that he wants to be present during a crucial moment for the company. In industries like K-pop, where loyalty and personal bonds often run deep, artists sometimes respond instinctively to turbulence surrounding their mentors. It would not be surprising if Jungkook's return to Korea has as much to do with standing close to Si-Hyuk as it does with music, brand deals, or rehearsals. Throughout BTS's career, Si-Hyuk maintained an image of being more accessible and artist-focused compared to executives in traditional entertainment companies. His closeness to the group often appeared genuine, reflected in behind-the-scenes footage and interviews where mutual respect was evident. Now, as Hybe faces pressure, the artists who owe much of their trajectory to him may feel compelled to show support in ways that go beyond formal statements. Jungkook's decision to leave New York so quickly might be an unspoken gesture of alignment. It is not about public announcements, but about presence being in Korea during a time when the company and its founder are under the microscope. In industries as scrutinized as K-pop and global fashion, timing is everything. Had Jungkook remained in New York, speculation would likely have centered on his fashion influence, his connections to Western markets, and his rising reputation as a soloist beyond BTS. Instead, his quick return shifts the narrative toward his ties with Hybe and the unfolding situation in Korea. This shift is significant because it reveals how Jungkook continues to balance dual identities, that of a global celebrity and that of a Korean artist deeply rooted in the structures of his home industry. Leaving New York at such a moment is a reminder that no matter how global he becomes, his actions remain closely tied to Korea's cultural and corporate dynamics. Fans worldwide may celebrate his appearances in Calvin Klein campaigns. Yet many also recognize the human reality that artists are not separate from the institutions they belong to. Jungkook's departure thus adds another layer to the ongoing story of Hybe, one that makes it impossible to discuss the company's challenges without also mentioning its most visible star. For Jungkook, the question is not only whether he is returning to Korea for Bang Si-Hyuk, but also what his presence represents in a moment of uncertainty. Among Hybe's artists, Jungkook stands out as the most internationally visible, particularly after the group's partial hiatus due to military enlistments. His activities draw more headlines than most, and his every move is analyzed for meaning. By appearing at JFK and signaling his return, he indirectly places Hybe's troubles on the global radar. International outlets covering his airport departure cannot ignore the context of the company's investigation. In this way, Jungkook becomes more than an artist, he becomes a bridge between the global entertainment world and Korea's corporate challenges. This weight is not something every artist could carry, but Jungkook has repeatedly shown the ability to turn personal movements into larger cultural statements. His departure is not just about a plane ride. It becomes a symbol of how interconnected the personal and professional, the global and the local, have become in modern K-pop. The entertainment world is not unfamiliar with corporate scandals, but Hybe's situation carries added weight because of its global visibility. Unlike other labels whose controversies remain largely domestic, Hybe's brand is international, tied directly to the prestige of BTS and their members. Any crack in the foundation therefore becomes magnified in the eyes of the world. Jungkook, as the most active BTS member in recent global promotions, inevitably becomes tied to this turbulence. Even if he has no direct connection to the cases under scrutiny, his image as Hybe's crown jewel makes his movements inseparable from the company's story. Returning to Korea, while the investigation intensifies, positions him not only as an observer, but as a figure who reflects the company's current fragility. At the center of Hybe's story is Bang Si-Hyuk, often referred to as Hitman Bang. His role in shaping BTS, and by extension, Jungkook's career, is well documented. From the earliest days of training, Bang emphasized artistry and authenticity, carving out an approach to K-pop that differed from the more rigid systems of other agencies. For Jungkook, entering Hybe at such a young age, Bang was both a mentor and a strategist. Now, as Bang Si-Hyuk faces questions alongside his company, the artists connected to him are thrust into a difficult position. Do they distance themselves to protect their individual images? Or do they show quiet solidarity? Jungkook's return to Korea could be interpreted as leaning toward the latter. Even without public statements, proximity matters. For someone like Jungkook, who understands how narratives are shaped in the media, simply being in Korea during this period signals an awareness of the weight Bang carries in his life. Whether he intends to be supportive, cautious, or simply informed, his return is inseparable from his mentor's challenges. Jungkook's situation highlights a tension that often goes unnoticed: the dual burden of being both a global celebrity and a Korean artist. On one hand, he must maintain his rising presence in the West, where fashion brands, media, and fans expect him to remain visible and accessible. On the other, he must navigate the complexities of Korea's entertainment industry, where corporate loyalty and national expectations weigh heavily. Few stars embody this dual burden as clearly as Jungkook. His rapid rise in global fashion could have allowed him to distance himself from Korea's domestic issues, positioning himself more as a global free agent. Yet, his decision to return shows that no matter how far he goes, his roots remain tied to the structures that raised him. This balancing act is not without cost. Global fans may question why he would leave New York so soon, while domestic observers may scrutinize whether his return is a statement of loyalty or mere coincidence. Each side demands different things from him, and he must find a way to meet those expectations without being consumed by them. One of the reasons Jungkook's departure carries such weight is the way media and public discourse frame his movements. In today's entertainment landscape, where social media amplifies every detail, the absence of a clear explanation often fuels speculation. In this case, the narrative possibilities are many. Jungkook is returning for personal reasons unrelated to Hybe's troubles. He wants to quietly observe the investigation and its impact on the company. He feels compelled to stand near Si-Hyuk during a vulnerable moment. His schedule in Korea required an earlier return, and the timing is coincidental. Each explanation carries different implications, and without confirmation, fans and media fill the gaps themselves. What makes this particularly intriguing is that all possibilities remain plausible. Jungkook, by not clarifying, allows his silence to speak louder than words. K-pop has always been about more than music. It is about storytelling, image, and timing. Jungkook's return exemplifies this truth. Even if his departure from New York was purely practical, its timing ensures it will be seen as symbolic. This is why airports in K-pop culture are often treated like stages. The sight of an idol walking through terminals, often dressed impeccably, is not just about travel. It is about crafting narratives. For Jungkook, his presence at JFK and subsequent flight home came at the precise moment when Hybe needed headlines managed. His movement naturally redirected attention, linking his name with the unfolding investigation. Whether intentional or not, this is how narratives in K-pop evolve. Through coincidences that gain symbolic weight, through actions that blur the line between personal choices and professional statements. Jungkook's 2 days in New York might have been about fashion and global influence, but his decision to leave so quickly placed him in a much larger story. Calvin Klein may have received its share of spotlight, yet the real headline became his sudden return to Korea amidst Hybe's crisis. At the center of it all is the bond between Jungkook and Si-Hyuk, a relationship forged over years of mentorship and success. That bond, combined with the dual burden of being both a global star and a Korean artist, makes his movements far more than logistical details. They become cultural statements. As speculation continues, one truth remains clear. Jungkook's choices will always carry weight beyond his intentions. Whether his return is a sign of loyalty, responsibility, or timing, it ensures that he remains at the heart of conversations not just about fashion and music, but about the very stability of the company that built him.